I'm so glad to see you this morning.
Oh, thanks.
I thought you were dead, Bec.
What?
I did think this morning, I'd had this whole scenario worked out in my head and my mind, how I was going to sort this out, how I was going to have to inform your family, how I was going to have to ring friends, because you just went. You're always on some form of social media.
Yeah.
I always see you out and about, or posting some message, or posting some picture. Some point yesterday afternoon, I think it was round about like 1 or 2, you just cut off all radio contact. There was nothing on Facebook, there was nothing on Twitter, there was nothing on Instagram. And on a Friday night, what I do is I'll sit there and I'll get my pen and paper out and I'll start writing the show and putting bits and bobs together. And then I'll always send Bec a message saying, "Oh, you okay for this time?" which is normally 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. No response. So I thought, that's a little bit weird, maybe she's out. So I then sent you a picture of Rick Moranis from Little Shop of Horrors and Ghostbusters, half naked. That's a story for another day. You didn't respond to that either. So now I'm thinking, what's going on? So I do that thing where you start sweeping around social media, looking on Facebook, looking on Twitter, thinking she's not talking to anyone. And then you go on, I went on the WhatsApp thing, and it normally tells you when the person was last on.
Yeah.
There was nothing for Bec. So now I go to sleep early. I go to bed really, really early. Bec, I was still up at 1:30 worrying about you last night.
Oh, God, sorry.
I'm still sat there thinking, because you know when you close your eyes, but then you keep looking at the phone going, oh, I'll check again in a minute. I couldn't settle. And then I get up this morning again, as I do, 5 o'clock in the morning, get ready to go out and go to the gym. Still no message, still no response.
Oh, I feel really bad.
So now I'm sending Bec emails, I'm sending Bec text messages, I'm sending messages on every single thing possible going, are you there? Are you alright? And then just as I'm getting in the gym, I get a message back from her going, oh yeah, I had a problem with my phone, I'm okay, good to go. It's like, oh.
Oh, I've had a technical nightmare this week, so like, but yeah, I did post something saying that it's Friday, like the Prosecco flow.
Yeah, that was the last thing you posted.
Yeah.
I had this thought that I was going to be, because in Bec's flat, she's got these like lovely sort of doors at the back which go into the gardens and stuff, and there's a little car park at the back as well. So I was thinking I'm going to be parking in the car park, creeping up, and I expected to see through the windows of those the patio windows, just see you slumped with a bottle of wine and a Broth CD in the other hand. I was bricking it.
Oh, sorry. I'm all right, Lo. Hello.
Yeah, so, but and then, you know, the thing what made it even more spooky is because this week we were going to talk about funerals. We've been meaning to talk about this on the podcast for the past few weeks, but we just always move on to something else and forget about it. The last thing I'd written, where is it? You can see it on here. There we go. Bec tells me about her funeral. That's what the last thing I'd written last night. So I'm thinking, oh my God, this is going to be one of those moments where I can see it now. I'll be recording a podcast of my own saying, and this is the last episode of Chasing 40. Sadly, Bec has died. We were going to talk about funerals, but she never made it.
Oh, see, but I'd like that. Maybe you could do one. It's a bit like a living funeral, isn't it?
Well, when is it you're going to have this funeral, by the way?
When I'm 40.
When you're 40, right.
So January.
So if we get to 40, if you get to 40, if the podcast gets that far down the line, not you, maybe we can do, which would be quite good, because it would be, that would be the natural end. We'd have to change the name of the podcast, wouldn't we, to Chasing 41 or something. Maybe we could cover that. No, this is a true thing, and I'm fascinated by this because Bec it's her enthusiasm that fascinates me more than anything. Bec is going to have a living funeral.
Yeah.
And when she told me about this, I'm going, what? Living funeral? That's not a thing, but apparently it is. Go on.
See, death is something that you have to take really seriously. So I do have a folder.
Well, I did last night.
I have a folder of death on my laptop, which has got random stuff on it. So it's got all these details of logins. I've got 2 or 3 people who know how to access everything, so they can delete browser history.
What have you got to, yeah, you said this to me last week. What have you got to delete? What is dodgy on this computer?
I'm not getting drawn into that. The dark web is a dark place. But there's an app that you can go on. I think it's called Death Social or something or other. And basically you program in your own obituary, and someone just triggers it when you die, right, and it posts on all of your social media and then closes it down.
So have you written this obituary?
I'm halfway through it, yeah. But a living funeral is.
You do realise that over the next few weeks now I'm going to browbeat you into reading this obituary on the podcast.
Yeah, a living funeral though is basically you have your funeral before you die. So you get to see people, because this is what I would find awful, would be the fact that I'm not there to hear what people are saying, and it's probably the only time people will say something nice about us. So I want to be there, and I want to see them cry.
Right, where's it going to be? Is it going to be in a pub, or is it going to be a
function room somewhere or other? I've been to some lovely venues this week, so I'm just looking at them all going, this would be quite nice, wouldn't it?
Will you have to lie in a coffin or anything, or?
No, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Oh, this is weird.
Oh, but maybe I could. That'd be quite cool. Or have maybe just a big throne with like the Grim Reaper stood over me with a sign.
So are there actually sites and stuff that you can go on to organise these things? Are there people that organise events?
A friend of mine is a civil celebrant, and so she does weddings and funerals and hand fasting.
Right.
But she can also do...
Wait, hand fasting?
Yes,
what the hell?
That's not what you think it is. It's like a...
What do I think it is? Come on, what is it?
It's like a pagan.
That was an innocent look in my eyes. A curious, innocent look. So go on.
It's like a pagan form of a wedding, and you do like in woods and stuff. They're really, really cool. They're really, really interesting. But she also does live in funerals.
Right.
So she will conduct the service. She doesn't really want to do my living funeral at 40. She wants to do something different. But I'm like, listen, love, it's my 40th.
Okay, so...
if I want to die, I will.
In the next 12 months, then, we're going to be attending a funeral, and it's going to be yours, potentially.
And I will be there.
Yeah, you're definitely going to be there. I would have thought that the best thing would have been to do is to put yourself in a coffin and just stay in the coffin all the way throughout it and let people think you're dead and then just pop out at the end.
Surprise!
Or is that just me being very, very sick and twisted?
No, because then I might be really offended because maybe no one will cry, and that's what I would hate if people just see it as some form of celebration. I don't want that.
I had a scare a few years ago where I convinced myself I had cancer. Well, I hadn't convinced myself I had cancer. I had a lump on my neck, so I had all the tests, and I went and did the biopsy thing, and you know, you have to wait. It's horrible waiting for results. But maybe in the most pessimistic man in the world sometimes, that was it. The minute I felt a lump on my neck, I was gone. I was finished. It was all over. So I'm doing all these things. I'm writing out wills. I'm writing out letters. I was given a list of enemies and things that... I gave a list to a mate of mine of things I wanted avenged when I was dead. And you need to tell this fella this. You need to do that for me. You need to do this.
See, it's just a death folder.
But when it got to... It doesn't sound like... It's not as extreme as your one. It was just a list of targets. That sounds even worse. But anyway, I digress. But one of the things that I'd also discussed with friends, I'd said about me funeral, and that was my slant on it, that I don't want anyone happy, I want everyone to be sad, because there's no celebrating, I'm dead. And the other thing as well, I didn't want to be buried in a coffin. At the time when it happened, I wanted to be buried in my car with all my possessions. You know that Jeep I had?
Yeah.
That was the
You want to be buried in your chimney.
I want to be buried right in the driver's seat of the car with everything I own shoved in it. So, you know, like in ancient history, the Egyptian pharaohs and all that, they'd be buried in this lovely temple with all their riches and all their wealth. Me, I just want to be put in the ground in a Suzuki chimney with all my CDs and my Everton kits. Oh my, oh my. What a start to this week's show. I'll tell you one thing, because we had a couple of people who were getting in touch with us with regards to the British Podcast Awards, which we're not eligible for because we've got to have been on last year and we've only just started this in 2017. But I definitely think next year when the British Podcast Awards come around, we've got to win it, just for the sheer randomness of the openings to these podcasts. Because some of the stuff we've discussed, I think this is the second time we've covered death in only 6 episodes.
I love death. It's one of my favourite subjects.
Oh, and also as well, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be tuning out, because I realise, especially the ones listening on YouTube, might see something and go, oh, I'll click on that. If you're wondering why the episode is called Spuggy from Byker Grove, we'll get to that in a few moments' time. Spuggy! Someone will be going, hang on, this says Spuggy from Byker Grove, but they've just talked about death and destruction and them dying for the past 10 minutes. We will get to that. I promise you, we will get to that. You know, all this week I've been really, really worried about something.
What?
That I've upset Kavanagh.
Kavanagh.
Yeah.
I was like, who's Kavanagh?
Oh,
how
no.
fickle.
I was even thinking, this is how deep thinking I am sometimes. I was actually going to tweet him and apologise, but then I thought he's going to go, what are you apologising for? And it was because I'd sort of, I had mocked him and laughed about the fact he was a crap celebrity. So I've just done it again. I'm making it worse. This comes from last week's show. We were talking about celebrity followers and celebrity people who were connected with on Twitter and LinkedIn and stuff. Some cool stuff that came out of last week's episode. But we realised that I have the naffest followers of them all. And one of them is 90s pop star Kavanagh. And we played a little clip of the interview when he was on the show many, many years ago. But if it did get back to Kavanagh at all, I like you. You're a nice guy. Sorry,
you can come to his funeral.
Yeah, you can come to the funeral
and sing.
But I've been worried about it all week.
Oh, who'd have thought you've got a sensitive side?
I know, especially after the first 10 minutes of this show. Should we get onto Spuggy from Byker Grove?
Shall we?
Because I've been looking forward to this all week. How did we get onto this? Was it Bob Carolgees?
I think it was, yeah. Is it a candle?
Yeah, we were talking about. I think it come off the back of, we were saying about celebrities who follow us on Twitter and various celebrity encounters we've had over the years, and I was talking about I don't know how we got onto it, but Bob Carolgees owns a candle shop in Cheshire, and from time to time when I needed a bit of a laugh, I'd go into this candle shop in the hope I'd see Bob there pottering around shuffling candles. And maybe I did actually go in once and ask for spit the dog around, and you could tell he just looked at me like, fuck off, knobhead. You think I've heard that before? Oh, Bob, spit the dog around. Do you want to buy a candle? No, spit the dog. Get out. So we were talking about that, and then Bec said to me, oh, that sounds like a lot what I used to do to Spuggy from Byker Grove. I'm going, Spuggy from Byker Grove? Go on, tell us what you did. I think this is terrible, by the way. Can I just point out with Bob Carolgees, I could mask it as a business inquiry that I was going in to look at candles in his shop, and I was asking about what the thing that he's famous for, which is spit the dog.
Well, I was calling her Spuggy.
Right, so tell us the background as to because Spuggy, the little ginger kid on Byker Grove, we all remember.
Yeah.
She obviously doesn't have a career post Byker Grove, does she?
Not many of them actually do. No, so obviously from the northeast, so we used to bump into people from Byker Grove every now and again, and we found out that after Spuggy left, she was working in a card shop in Sunderland. Now Sunderland is not one of my favourite places. It's not the most glamorous of places. But somehow we used to manage
Apologies to any of our listeners in Sunderland. And we do have people who listen in Sunderland.
Yeah, that's probably my family.
And Spuggy. Until today. I tell you what, Spuggy, you might just want to skip forward about 2 minutes if you are listening right now. So
this is my confessional. But somehow me and my mates used to find a way of spending hours in town, like buying sweets from Jackie White's market, and then when you go around and just hang about in general, it'd be annoying and sniff the soaps in the body shop. And then the culmination of our day was to go to the card shop that Spuggy worked in, and we'd just open the door and shout, "Spuggy, you've got jam on your knickers!" and run. I don't know why.
What did she do when you did that?
I don't know, because we just left. We just shout it and run.
But why jam on your knickers?
I don't know.
And how many times did you used to do that?
Once a week. It was kind of, a Saturday thing. We were bored.
I need to Google and see where she's up to, because we had a little clip of Scott on the show a few weeks ago where he was such a nice guy that he would go on and apologise for things he'd done in the past. Maybe we need to reach out to Spuggy. That must have been so horrible for her, because it's bad enough that obviously everyone knows her as Spuggy from Byker Grove, and she's now not got a career. She's working in a card shop. Nothing wrong, by the way, with working in a card shop. Good honest living.
Unless you've got jam on your knickers.
But unless you're Spuggy and you've got jam on your knickers, and it's a tragedy. By the way, just to clear things up, because I'm being an investigative journalist on the show here right now, but Spuggy wasn't stood there with knickers on, was she, at the time?
I couldn't tell. She was behind a counter.
Right, okay. So
she might have done. They might have just been stiff.
They wear pants and they wear a skirt, so there was no evidence of this jam. It wasn't visible if it was on the knickers. What a stupid conversation we're having here.
Oh, it's just what you do when you were kids. We had no internet, did we? We were old.
And now remember why we started talking about Byker Grove, because I was saying that you ruined Byker Grove. I mean, you've ruined Spuggy for me, by the way. Now, not that there was much left to her. I didn't still have her on much of a pedestal anyway. Oh, Spuggy. But I was because whenever I'd speak to people about Byker Grove, I'd come up in conversation, because it's not on anymore, is it?
No, sadly.
That was your Brookside, wasn't it, round there?
Oh, it was just the best programme ever.
Anyone who'd come to Liverpool and visit us, I would always ask about, where's Brookside close? And maybe show them where it is. But Bec was telling me about Byker Grove and the set of Byker Grove. I remember because I've known you now for over the decade, and we got talking about Byker Grove, and I honestly thought it was this big castle. Now, if you've never seen Byker Grove, because I realise, and we're going to get onto this a little bit later on about where we've got people listening all around the world, there's a good chance that you might not have seen. It's a kids' TV show that was on the BBC in the 1990s. If you Google Byker Grove now, you'll find loads of stuff.
It was like a Geordie version of Grange Hill.
Yeah, it was like a youth club where they used to all go and hang out, and Ant and Dec got the start there. But the building, I remember it being this big, grand old building. And that was one of them places I thought one day, you know what, when I'm older, when I go up to Newcastle, and I've been up there a few times, I want to go and see Byker Grove. And I asked you where it was because I was going up on it was Scott's stag do as well. Where's Byker Grove? And what did you tell me?
That's just over the road from the Metro Centre.
And it's not real, either.
It's not real.
It looks so believable. So that was just like a big set, like a big...
The building does exist, but it's not in Byker.
Oh, right, so that actually is
so you could see the outside of it, but they didn't film inside it.
Oh.
So it's not like Brookside where you could actually walk in and walk around.
So
you could drive past it. So the building is around in Newcastle, but they didn't film inside it.
Is that still standing?
I don't know. I'll find out for you.
Find out for me. The dream's back on. I might be able to go there. But I hated Byker Grove, you know.
Why?
I absolutely hated it because of that bastard Jeff.
Poor Jeff, he got blown up by fireworks. Don't be dissing the dead.
So that was a good time for me. When he perished, I was like, great, he's off the screen, I'm made up. I had a terrible time growing up. My name, right, Jeffrey. It would cue a load of tweets this week. Now, I had Jeffrey. Growing up in the 80s, so Jeffrey, I had the Jeffrey Archer scandal to get through, which was a bit of a pain in the backside. Then you get into the 90s, when I thought it was all over and done with the name Jeffrey. Jeff from Byker Grove. So I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Where's Jeff from Byker? I don't know him. The worst one ever was Blummin' Rainbow. Oh, my.
Oh, Jeffrey.
That set me back years. I'm not messing. Where's Bungle? Is he shitting in the woods? I don't know Bungle. I don't know Zippy. George, I've never fucking met him before.
Roger and Freddie?
Oh, yeah, all that. I had that for years. And then, to top it all off, for my surname, right, Nolan, I had the fucking Nolan sisters as well.
Wow, this cuts deep, doesn't it?
So, right, this is the way I'm looking at it. I'm going, Rainbow's gone. Great. There's that one, one Jeff out the way. Jeffrey Archer, that scandal all out the way. He's now a city. So he got sent to prison as well, didn't he? So he was out of the picture. Jeff from Byker Grove pops up. I'm like, oh, for God's sake. So I finally get him killed. So he's gone. So now they're all gone. Jeff from Rainbow's a taxi driver. No one hears of him. Archer's in prison. Jeff's dead. The other one. They're eliminated. Now, the one thing I wasn't expecting, and I was totally blindsided by this, the freaking Nolan sisters made a comeback. Do you know how many times, still to this day, I ring a contact centre or I ring somewhere and they go, ask me surname, and I say, yeah, Nolan. They go, oh, they're in the sisters.
Are you in the mood for dancing?
Oh, don't start, Bec.
Romancing.
How I've not killed someone over that, I will never know.
Oh.
Shane Ritchie was married to one of them. I've been asked that twice when I've called up to get car insurance.
Serious?
Yeah, because eventually I'd start playing because I was that sick of it. Oh, the Nolan sisters. Yeah, the Nolan sisters. Yeah, are you related to them? Yeah, I am. Oh, Shane Ritchie. Twice I got asked about Shane Ritchie. So when he then blooming goes into like EastEnders, and I'm thinking, oh my God, they've made a comeback. They're on Loose Women. So that's the trauma. That's the trauma that I've had to put up with.
I'm really sorry to have brought it all back.
Yeah. It's a bit of a rant I've gone on there, haven't I?
It is. Do you want to lie down? Do you want me to mop your forehead?
Moment of zen. There we go. Clarity. Sun shining on my face. I feel better now.
Good. Do you know what? You do actually need to calm down though, because I worry about your temper. Sometimes I've never really seen you get so angry, but last week you really shocked me. You were stood in my front room, looking out the patio doors, over the gardens.
Oh, you're not going to talk about this, are you?
Having an argument with your phone.
It's that bloomin' Siri from Apple.
I've never heard anyone argue. You were swearing at her. You were telling her to fuck right off. You can't swear at Siri.
Well, if Siri would take notes the way I ask her to take notes, we wouldn't have this issue.
I don't think you didn't ask her nicely anything. You just started hurling abuse in her direction.
Well, what happens is, so I'll say, we can't do it now because if I do, Apple will shut us down. But anyway, let's see if I can find the notes, what I asked her to do. So I'll say, hey Siri, take a note. And it'll go, what would you like me to say? Take a note. And then it'll take the note. And the note is just all over the place all the time.
Maybe it's your accent.
So I'll then say, that's not what I asked you to put. And then it'll respond back. Then I'll call it a name and it'll say, that's not very nice. It patronises me. It patronises me, that damn phone.
She doesn't.
You heard her talk down to me.
You can't expect her not to give you grief back when you're standing hurling abuse at her.
Anyway,
that poor woman.
Did you, because you were saying to me that you hadn't realised that you got such interaction out of it. Now, you're not on the Apple phone thing, are you? You've got, is it Cortana? Or is it?
Yeah, I downloaded the Cortana app.
What was that like for you?
She couldn't understand me. I nearly went into a Nolan rage and I just deleted it again. Because it was far too complicated for a start. And yeah, she couldn't recognise words. It was like I can't speak properly.
This is why if that iRobot movie ever happens, where robots do become a reality and they start taking over the world, and the first person they're going to kill. I'm telling you. Sod Will Smith and all the problems that he had with that one, they'll be coming for me straight away, right before we take over world, kill Nolan.
Was rude to Siri.
Was rude to cousin Siri. Exterminate. Because he'd all speak like Daleks, of course, wouldn't he?
Of course, yeah, because technology hasn't moved on.
I think, to be honest, though, Bec, last week was a bit of a bad week because, as we mentioned on the show, I had a little bit of a hangover. Obviously, we were doing the show a different day.
Yeah.
And I'd also found out that week that there was a new Face of Burtons, so that added to my mood.
Burtons. we need to move on from Burtons.
When we eventually, and we will be soon, taking on sponsors, Burtons has got to be the first sponsor of this show. Not Amazon, as people have accused us of having Amazon as a sponsor. No, it's Burtons. That needs to be the sponsor. Because, of course, I should be the face of Burtons.
You should be. You've got a gold card. I didn't even know this existed,
Yeah.
but there is a real life gold card for Burtons.
I've been buying my clothes at Burtons since, God, all my adult life. I think since about 17, 18 I started shopping there, and it's become so hard these days because they keep shutting the blooming shops down. So I'm having to travel miles and miles to get shirts and shoes.
The curse of Jeff.
So what I do now, when I do go into my clothes shop, I'll buy, like, for the other week I need to get some shoes, so I bought like 5 pairs of shoes in case of that the next time I needed them, that shop was closed.
Do you know what? I'll give you a juice. Those shoes were alright.
They were cool, but the reason I was upset was the new face of Burtons is Jamie Redknapp. And I'm starting to get a bit disillusioned with the brand because before that it was Callum Best. So I'm thinking,
They're two good looking lads.
For you, he's good. Like, for me, I'm not a fan of Jamie Redknapp.
Well, you just have to admire him. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got a wholesome career. He's got a dad who's really strange looking.
Looks nothing like him. Did I ever tell you when I lived with Jamie Redknapp? No, I didn't live with him, but I sort of lived in the same block as him.
Really?
Briefly
No?
for a while. Mutual friend of ours had a flat in the docks in Liverpool. And I always remember their faces, Louise and Jamie Redknapp. So he went away for a few weeks, so he asked me to look after the flat. So here's me. I think at the time I was, maybe 7? No, I think it was probably 18, so I'm a little snot-nosed punk kid. Get up first thing in the morning to go into work, and when I'd be getting up to go into work and go into the office, it'd be the same time that Jamie and Louise were getting off to go and do their thing, or he was going off to do training. And then I remember the amount of times I'd be walking down the little corridor to get in the lift, and they'd be getting in the lift as well, and I could see them looking at me thinking, how the heck, he's got to be some sort of drug dealer. How the hell does he afford to live here? I'm like, morning neighbour.
I can't believe you've never told me that story.
I thought I had.
No.
I told Louise that story as well when I interviewed her, and she was just, I don't remember that. But yeah, remember me, 1999, little scally kid. It's probably stunk of ale. Morning neighbour. No. All right, well, moving on, I want to say a big thank you on this week's podcast to all you guys that have been supporting us so far. We're on to episode 6 now of Chasing 40, and so far, which it blew me away when I was looking at the stats through the week, we're coming up on 1,500 downloads so far across all the platforms that we've had. Loads and loads of people subscribing as well, which you can do at iTunes, you can do it on YouTube, SoundCloud. There'll be a couple more platforms that will be coming on as well shortly, so we'll keep you updated on that as and when it happens. But some of the places, I was just mesmerised at some of the places we've got people listening to us all around the world. So hello to people obviously in the UK, we've got listeners in the USA, we've got people in Hong Kong, Germany, Australia, Canada.
Wow.
And the one that, when I told Bec this, wow was one of the things she was saying, but there was one place I mentioned and she went, oh. I went, wow, what's the problem with that? I mean, we were both a little bit. We'd like to hear from you, by the way, if this is you, because we've got a couple of people that are listening to us over in the Ukraine every single week who are enjoying Chasing 40. So whoever you are, can you please get in touch with us and let us know, because I'd like to give you a special shout out, because I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah, definitely.
That you listen over in the Ukraine. When I was talking about this and how cool it was to Bec, though, she was staying silent because she was like, Ukraine, former USSR, Russia. There's no one listening in Moscow, is there? And you know what? I meant to check. I think there might be. But
Oh,
what's this fear you've got?
you know the conversation we had.
By the way, Mr. Ukraine listener, it's not you. It's to do with. In fact, he's not even your president because Ukraine's separate, isn't it? But they're at war with Russia at the moment, aren't they? So.
Exactly. You know the whole conversation we had about what might need to be deleted off my laptop.
Oh, no, I know what this is now.
Yeah, I've got a weird thing about Vladimir Putin.
It's them pictures. You're going to tell me about them pictures now, aren't you?
I've got this huge fear of him, but at the same time, I've got a little bit of a fantasy about him because of the topless calendar pictures.
Right, let's just get some nice music on here at the moment. There we go. So, be honest.
Yes.
The pictures you're on about.
Yes.
Right, this is the one where he's out hunting, isn't it? And he's on horseback.
He's
looking
got
all
no
manly.
top on, and he's like, I am man.
Vlad the Impaler. So let's just say that
I've got that. Yeah, that's one of the searches.
is the dream then that Vlad turns up outside the flat. He's on horseback. He's like, "Hello, Bec. Come to me, you Jolly beauty."
Oh wow! Gosh, I think I need to go and have a little lie down in a dark space. Woo!
So you've got a bit of a fancy thing on the Vladimir Putin
It's not just the horseback. Have you seen him holding
he-
a giant fish?
fighting with a bear.
There is no more manly man than our Vlad.
I'm gonna second. I just because I think I was just scanned over that one though. I haven't seen it. There's a picture of him holding a giant fish.
There's a whole calendar. It's not just one picture.
I've seen him fishing. I don't think I've seen the one.
No,
with,
this
like,
one's
the,
holding a giant. I don't know whether it's a trout or what it is, but it's a big, massive fish.
So going back to this seriously though, is there any with any of these thoughts and stuff? Is there any other world leaders that you've thrown in there? Maybe Angela Merkel.
No, I quite like the power.
Kinky. What about Donald Trump? We haven't discussed him for a couple of weeks. He's a powerful man.
I can't get past the hair and the pout with him, I'm afraid.
So we've got you, Vladimir, and Trump. Some baby oil at the Trump International Hotel in Moscow. Sexy.
Now do you see why I need people to remove things from my laptop?
You know what worries me is like that's not even that really. There's got to be even more creepier fantasies there, hasn't there? There's got to be even more. So come on, I'm
not going to spill it all right now. You know, we're only 6 weeks in.
Yeah, we're going to get to that at some point. So how long's this crush on Vladimir Putin been ongoing?
A fair few years. Ever since I saw him bareback.
So it's that picture.
It's that picture. And just the power. He's got a red button. He could press that button at any given time. That just like...
Here's my advice.
Let me please you, Vlad. Don't press the button.
So Bec is playing the dating game at the moment. So if anyone does have any interaction with Bec at all at the moment, or you do start chatting to you, what you need to do is get some pictures or superimpose yourself onto those pictures of Putin, or I don't know, just go to a pony sanctuary or something, take your top off and jump on the back of that pony, get a selfie, and I'm telling you, you're onto a winner there, kids.
Oh, do you know what? It doesn't matter how many times I swipe on Tinder, he never pops up.
I don't know if that's making you more desirable to our listener in the Ukraine, because obviously if they're at war with them at the moment,
Probably
and he's
not, yeah.
bombing the crap out of his house, the last thing he needs to is the one person that's given him solace throughout this troublesome time, talking about how she wants to get it on with Vlad.
Maybe I could be sent out though as a foreign diplomat.
You know what?
I'll calm it all down with a massage.
If we were on air now, if we were on a radio station and our former guys as radio presenters, we could do a wacky phone in right now, couldn't we? So that's Bec's story this morning. So hey, what we need to do is get in touch with us right now as we play Bold Music Variety. In between tracks from JLS and Cheryl Cole, we're going to be asking you to tell us, who would you, right, if you could get it on with a world leader, yeah, who would it be? Would it be big sexy Vlad, or maybe would you like a bit of Tony Blair? Yeah.
Wow.
I've heard people do that.
Wow.
Well, actually, no, I haven't.
But we would have done
that bit up. I don't know where to go from there, really, to be totally honest. Exciting week ahead, because we are running out of time, so we're going to close things up in a few moments' time. But exciting week ahead for me. Anyway, Bec, this time next week, I'm going to be like a kid at Christmas, because next weekend is the beginning of my favourite time of the year. Because I've got WrestleMania coming up. So
I wasn't expecting that.
Can't wait for that. That's the big one next Sunday. And then after that, I've got Aintree. So I've got 3 days of the Grand National. So next week, we've got some bits and bobs from John McCrick that we're going to play for you. I'm hoping as well, I've asked the question whether or not it does happen, but we're hoping to hear from Hulk Hogan, with it being WrestleMania weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
The Hulk?
Yes. Don't tell them I'm winking. Don't tell them I'm winking. So next week, but it'll be the real John McCrick, but it might not be wink wink the real Hulk Hogan. So it's a busy week. It's a busy and exciting week ahead. I'll be talking about when we get to our next one. What about yourself? Have you got any plans this week?
Yes, I can say this now because this won't be released until tomorrow. But surprise, Mum! I'm going up to visit my mum for Mother's Day.
Oh yeah,
and she doesn't know.
Happy Mother's Day! If you listen on Sunday, if you listen on Tuesday or Wednesday,
been and gone.
I hope you had a good Mother's Day. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening. This has been the Spuggy episode.
Spuggy and Vladimir.
Spuggy Vladimir Putin death episode. Chasing 40.
I can't wait for the hashtags.
Yeah, we'll catch you next time. Remember, check us out on SoundCloud. You can like it, you can subscribe. You can also check us out on YouTube. You can click the subscribe button there, leave us a comment if you'd like, and do the like thing. And also as well on iTunes, if you want to leave us a review, if you want to subscribe, that would be fantastic. And if you do it on iTunes as well, the great thing about that is you don't even have to go on and download every single week. It just drops into your podcast section and does all the hard work for you. So if you'd like to get in touch with us as well, by the way, as always, you can find out all the details in the description field of whatever you're listening to, which I don't know right now because I'm not a mind reader, but I know you're on one of them. So just do what you got to do, go about your business. See you next time.